try a little experiment to kick things off today.
Yeah.
I want you to close your eyes for a second, unless you're driving, obviously, and I want you to visualize the word channeling. Just let the image populate in your brain. Be honest. What do you see?
I'm going to take a wild guess and say it doesn't involve a spreadsheet or a laboratory.
Definitely not. It's
Yeah.
almost always a dimly lit room,
Okay.
heavy velvet curtains, smell of sage.
Oh, yeah, maybe a crystal ball sitting in the middle of a round table.
Exactly. There's intense eye contact, people holding hands, and then the main event. Someone rolls their eyes back, starts shaking, and speaks in this booming theatrical voice.
Claiming to be a king from Atlantis or, I don't know, a commander from the Galactic Federation.
It is the classic Hollywood trope. It's dramatic, it's spooky, and it usually frames the experience as a total surrender of control.
Right. You leave the building and something else moves in.
Exactly. It's firmly in the woo-woo bucket. It feels like a performance. But that is exactly why I was so obsessed with the source material we're covering today. Because we have a text here that takes this concept, which is usually draped in mysticism and purple prose, and just strips it down to the studs.
It reads less like a spell book and more like...
Honestly, like a technical manual.
That is the perfect way to describe it. It's pragmatic, it's grounded, and it removes the magic in favor of mechanics. We aren't looking at this through the lens of religion today. We are looking at it through the lens of information processing and perception.
Which is a massive shift. So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack this text. We're going to see how it replaces those ego-driven narratives, the I am the chosen vessel stuff.
With engineering concepts, we're talking signal resolution, state change, and user interfaces.
And the headline here is pretty radical.
Hmm.
The text argues that true connection with higher intelligences, and we can define what that means as we go, is actually safe.
And non-delusional. And here's the kicker. It doesn't require you to go anywhere.
That's the core definition we need to start with. The text creates this distinction right out of the gate. Connection does not begin with a location change. It begins with state change.
Right. And to really grasp that, we have to dismantle the location fallacy. We are conditioned to think spatially.
I mean, if I want to talk to a spirit, I have to go to the astral plane.
Exactly. Or they have to come down from the mothership to my living room. We think in terms of travel, A to B.
But this source argues that travel is the wrong metaphor entirely.
Completely. You aren't moving through space. You are shifting perception. Perception is the interface, not location. The broadcast is already here. You just don't have the hardware tuned to receive it.
Okay, so let's talk about that tuning process. Because the text uses a phrase that, I'll be honest, usually makes me run for the hills: self-hypnosis.
I get it. You think of a stage act where a guy clucks like a chicken.
Or maybe those old tapes you'd listen to quit smoking.
Yeah.
How is this text using that term?
It's using it in a really clinical, almost physiological sense. It's definitely not about trancing out, blacking out, or losing consciousness.
Right.
The text defines the self-hypnosis specifically as sustained, regulated focus with reduced internal noise.
Reduced internal noise. That's an interesting phrase. It implies that we are currently noisy.
Yeah.
What counts as noise in this context?
Everything. Your grocery list, the text you forgot to reply to, that awkward thing you said at a party 3 years ago, your survival instincts, your social anxiety. That is your baseline broadcast.
Okay, so it's just life.
It's life. Think of your brain like a high-fidelity radio receiver. Normally, that receiver is locked onto the survival station. It's loud, it's chaotic, and it's absolutely necessary for driving a car or paying taxes.
Right, I'm with you.
The source argues that higher levels of organization or higher intelligence are broadcasting on a different frequency. That signal is always present. It's hitting you right now.
But my internal noise floor is too high to register it.
Exactly. So state change is simply the process of manually lowering that noise floor. You are downshifting the nervous system. You aren't leaving your body. In fact, you have to be very rooted in your body. But you're calming the alarms so the mind can hold information. It usually filters out.
It reminds me a bit of those magic eye posters from the 90s. Do you remember those?
Oh, the ones that just look like static until you stared and a 3D image popped out? Yes.
That's the one. The dolphin or the sailboat was always in the picture. It was physically printed there. But if you looked at it with your normal, sharp focus, you just saw chaos.
You had to soften your gaze, change your state.
Right, you had to change your state to let the hidden image resolve. And think about it. If you tried too hard or got frantic, what happened?
You lost it. Gone. Just static again.
Exactly. And this text emphasizes that the state required for this is about stability. It's about signal resolution. You're just accessing a denser layer of information that's already here.
But you can only perceive it when you stop trying to force it.
So let's say I manage this. I've done the breathing, I've quieted the grocery list, I've downshifted, I've got my signal resolution up. What happens next? Because this is where the movies tell us the thunderous voice comes in.
To build an arc.
Yes, build an arc.
And this is where the source material is invaluable for anyone trying to distinguish reality from mental illness or just imagination. The text is adamant. Higher intelligences do not communicate through commands.
Or distinct audio voices, or directives.
None of it.
Wait, really? No voices? That seems to contradict, well, almost every famous story of channeling in history.
It contradicts the popular narrative, certainly,
What?
but the text is very specific. It says if you are hearing a literal auditory voice telling you what to do, that is likely internal. It could be psychological fragmentation or a subpersonality or just your own thoughts getting loud.
Okay, so if it's not a voice, what is it? What does it feel like?
It's described as coherence patterns.
That sounds incredible, but also incredibly vague. What does a coherence pattern actually feel like to the person sitting in the chair?
Okay, the text describes it as insight without narrative. Imagine you are struggling with a complex problem. You've been grinding on it for days. Suddenly, while you're washing dishes, the entire solution lands in your head.
Oh, I've had that.
It's instant. It's complete. It's not a sentence. It's a knowing.
It's like downloading a zip file. You get the whole package of understanding in a split second, and then your brain has to spend the next 10 minutes unzipping it into English words.
Yes, that is exactly the mechanism. The source calls it interfacing through resonance. The information is a block of data, a coherence pattern, and your brain's job is to translate that pattern, but the origin is silent.
But what about the emotional quality? I would expect that moment of contact to feel ecstatic or overwhelming, like sticking your finger at a light socket.
And again, the text zigs where we expect it to zag. It argues that true, evolved connection is neutral.
Neutral. That sounds, well, kind of boring.
Not boring, stabilizing. Think about it. If a system is truly more evolved, it's more organized. So when you connect with it, you shouldn't feel chaotic. You should feel clarity. The text says resonance feels clean.
So it brings perspective, not confusion.
Exactly. If the experience feels high voltage, frantic, or super emotional, that's a sign of low signal resolution. That's noise, not signal.
That is a tough pill to swallow for people who are chasing the high of spiritual experiences. They want the fireworks.
They do. But this source says the fireworks are usually just your own nervous system freaking out. The actual data is calm.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here. We're saying no voices, just data. But if you go on YouTube right now, there are thousands of people who don't just hear things, they see things. They see gray aliens, they see Archangel Michael, they see machine elves. If this is just signal resolution, why is everyone hallucinating a sci-fi cast of characters?
This is, in my opinion, the most fascinating part of the source text. It tackles what it calls the user interface of the mind. The source claims that these figures, these aliens or angels, are representational forms.
Representation. So they aren't literal visitors knocking on the door.
Correct. They are not literal. But, and I cannot stress this enough, the text says that doesn't make the information false. It means the information is encoded.
Okay, walk me through this. How can the information be true if the messenger is a hallucination?
Think about your computer desktop. You have a little icon that looks like a trash can.
Oh.
Now look closely at your screen. Is there literally a miniature plastic bin inside your monitor?
No, obviously not.
Right, it's a symbol. It's pixels representing code that executes a delete function. But if you had to interact with the raw code, the ones and zeros, you'd never get anything done.
Your computer uses the symbol of a trash can because that is a cultural shorthand, you understand. It helps you interact with a complex function.
That makes so much sense. So if I'm accessing a level of reality that is abstract and incredibly complex, my brain panics and grabs a costume from the wardrobe department to make sense of it.
Exactly. The psyche organizes complex data into forms we can interact with. The text says that other worlds are essentially just different informational contexts.
And because direct perception of that info exceeds our ordinary language, the mind interprets it symbolically.
So if I see an angel, it might be my brain's way of interpreting a vibe of benevolence or high-level guidance.
Precisely. And if someone else accesses that same data stream, but they grew up watching X-Files, Their brain might interpret that same high-tech clinical vibe as a gray alien.
It's a skin. It's a video game skin.
It is. And the danger comes when people take the symbol literally. They start worshiping the trash can icon instead of understanding the delete function.
So focus on the data, not the avatar.
The avatar is just your brain's user interface.
This leads us to the biggest question I have, and I think the one most listeners probably have. Safety. How do we ensure we aren't opening the door to something messy or just plain losing our minds?
This brings us to the most critical concept in the entire text. If you take one thing away from this deep dive, let it be this, the text calls it, the principle of non-override.
Non-override. It sounds like a safety protocol on a starship.
It basically is. It's the primary tool for distinguishing genuine connection from delusion, psychosis, or just your own ego. The text states that benevolent, evolved intelligences never, under any circumstances, override your free will.
So, take the wheel, Jesus.
Absolutely no taking the wheel. The source lists specific red flags. Anything that pressures action, creates urgency, or removes personal agency is not a true connection.
That's a huge distinction.
Oh.
Because you hear stories of people saying, the spirits told me I had to sell my house immediately.
Or I have to move to the desert by Tuesday, or the world ends, or I have to send money to this leader. According to this text, that urgency is a hallmark of imagination mixed with ego or anxiety.
True contact is regulating, not stimulating.
It never creates a crisis.
It's interesting you mention ego, because usually people who claim to channel have a bit of a complex. I have the secret knowledge.
Right, the chosen one syndrome. The text warns specifically about this. Watch out for anything that elevates the experiencer above others. If the message is, you are special, you are the only one who can save humanity, that's a violation.
It's flattering the ego, not providing wisdom.
Exactly. The text defines benevolence in this very cool, detached way. Evolved systems prioritize stability and minimal interference. They do not rescue you. They do not perform magic tricks to prove they exist.
And they certainly do not validate your identity.
They simply mirror coherence.
Mere coherence. I love that phrase.
Yeah.
It sounds like they are just holding up a steady reflection so you can fix your own hair, rather than them fixing it for you.
That's a great way to put it. They provide a reference point of stability so you can stabilize yourself.
But this begs the question. If they aren't going to tell me the winning lottery numbers or stroke my ego, what is the point? Why go through all this trouble?
That is the million-dollar question. What is the utility? The text is very clear. Soul-level information does not arrive as prophecy. It arrives as orientation.
Orientation, like a compass.
Yes. It helps you understand timing, alignment, and consequence. It's about understanding where you are on the map of your life, not skipping to the end of the journey.
So it's about seeing the bigger picture so you can make better decisions yourself.
Exactly. And the text emphasizes grounding heavily here. The source argues that accurate channeling always includes grounding. If you can't return your attention to your body and the present time immediately after, the experience was too unregulated.
So the spaced-out, gazing into the middle distance look isn't a badge of honor.
Not at all. It's a sign of a malfunction. It means you blew a fuse.
And the text says no authentic higher intelligence discourages grounding.
In fact, the safest orientation is to treat all communication as information for integration, not as authority.
Information for integration. I really like that. It puts the power back in the hands of the human. You're the editor. You decide what makes it into the final cut of your life.
Precisely. You don't surrender your judgment. You use the information to enhance your judgment. And the text offers a checklist, a literal litmus test, to judge if an experience was accurate.
Right. You ask yourself, does this increase coherence in my life?
Does it support ethical behavior?
Does it respect my autonomy?
Yeah.
And my favorite one from the list. Does it make ordinary life more relevant, not less?
That is the clincher. If your spiritual practice makes you hate your job and want to escape Earth to go live on the Pleiades, this source would say you are doing it wrong.
That is a massive call out to the spiritual community. Because, let's be honest, a lot of people get into this stuff because they want to escape reality.
But the text reframes the goal entirely. The goal is not escape. It is deeper participation in it.
Deeper participation. That's really beautiful, actually. It implies that the magic isn't out there. It's in how you engage with right here.
And that leads to the ultimate test of accuracy. You don't look at the message, you look at the result. You become more present, you become more grounded, you become more ethical.
And you become more capable of living your human life, not distracted from it, not elevated above it.
Exactly. Accuracy is measured by integration. If you are a better human, the connection was real. If you are just more inflated, it was ego.
It really takes the wind out of the sails of the guru complex, doesn't it?
Completely.
Yeah.
It democratizes the experience and places the responsibility squarely on the individual.
You know, it's funny. We started this deep dive talking about ghosts and trances and leaving the body. And we've ended up talking about ethics, responsibility, and being present.
Which I would argue is the most surprising plot twist of all.
It really is. So let's try to synthesize this for everyone. We've learned that channeling, in this context, isn't about travel. It's about tuning a radio that's already inside you.
A biological state change, not a geographical trip.
Yeah.
And we've learned that the signal comes through as coherence. Pure data, not spooky voices.
And that when we do see aliens and angels, we shouldn't get hung up on them. They are likely just our brain's user interface.
The desktop icons, not the code itself. And, crucially, we've learned the safety protocol. Non-override. If it pushes you, if it creates panic, it's not real.
And finally, the point of it all isn't to leave humanity behind, but to get better at being human.
To use that higher orientation to navigate the ground level with more grace.
So here's a thought to leave you with today. We often look at advanced beings, and we imagine them as having these incredible superpowers, flying, telepathy, living in crystalline cities.
We imagine them as being more than us. But if we follow the logic of this text,
Exactly. If the hallmark of a truly evolved intelligence is that it creates stability and respects autonomy, then maybe the most advanced spiritual state you can achieve isn't levitating,
maybe it's just listening to your friend without interrupting.
or doing your taxes without panicking, or washing the dishes and actually feeling the water on your hands.
Or simply being completely undeniably present in your own ordinary life.
If evolved intelligences don't want us to escape our humanity, perhaps we shouldn't either. Maybe the aliens are waiting for us to just land in our own bodies.
The ultimate encounter is with yourself, right here.
Thanks for diving deep with us. Stay grounded, everyone.
And stay curious.